So starting with the case for data, data is really at the heart of Africa's governance and developmental agendas. And it's particularly important this year because Africa is set to have 17 elections. So when you think about the electorate, data is extremely important to allow them to assess government's performance, the weaknesses, the strengths, as well as the policy priorities. So it's extremely important that the electorate is, It's extremely important that the electorate is informed when they come to casting their vote. At the same time, there's a growing demand for sound data, and this is because of the global goals and also regional goals. When looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, there's about 17 goals, and when looking at regional goals, such as Agenda 2063, there's about 20 goals. So it's extremely important that measures are, there's progress is measured towards these different goals, and that it's like data is tracked for this. Going to sound data, we believe that sound data is intrinsically linked to governance, and this is because there's a strong correlation between, there's a strong positive correlation between quality statistics and good governance performance. And we see this in the Ibrahim Index of African Governance. If you look to the right of the presentation, you can see that the IIG overall governance, the higher the score, there was a higher score also for capacity of statistical systems. So really these two things are very linked. And according to the OECD, public value can be created in public sector by using data in 3 stages. This is anticipatory governance, design and delivery, and performance management. This slide is really showing you a timeline of initiatives, and as you can see, statistical capacity initiatives are not something new in Africa. The latest, or the earliest one goes back to 1947, but what you can see from the timeline is that statistical capacity initiatives have actually grown in numbers in the last few years. So this shows you that there is really a strong demand for data, not only in Africa, but globally. I'm just going to pass now to Diego.
Censuses, household surveys, and agricultural census, which are some of the basic building blocks of like statistics at the country level. There has been an acceleration of progress over the last decade, with only in 2022, like 12 countries having completed the latest population census. However, as you can see in the timelines, these are available in the report, there are some African countries who are still yet to conduct a population census, household survey, or agriculture census for more than a decade. In the next slide, please. Also, like faster progress is still needed in civil registration and agricultural data. In civil registration and vital statistics. Only 10 African countries, which account for like over 20% of the continent's population, have a birth registration system that is complete. Meaning by this, that is able to record at least 90% of the births occur in the country. At the same time, when it comes to death registration, only 3 African countries, which account for almost 8% of the continent's population, have a complete death registration system that is able to record at least 90% of the deaths occur in the country. When it comes to data gaps in the monitoring of development goals, such as the United Nations SDGs and the African Union's Agenda 2063 for African countries, in the report we highlight some key data gaps at the target level in comparable publicly available data. Here we just wanted to emphasize on 3 of the most salient ones. For instance, for SDG 1, no poverty, only 5 African countries have data on the proportion of population below the international poverty line for the last 3 years. When it comes to SDG 3, good health and well-being, only 10 African countries have data on health worker density by occupation, even though this data was key during the COVID-19 pandemic. And when it comes to SDG 4, quality education, only 2 African countries, Kenya and Zambia, have data for the latest data year in the SDG Global Data Portal, which is 2021, on the proportion of children and young people achieving minimum proficiency levels in reading and mathematics.